All right, welcome everybody. This is RJ. We're doing Mystic Mindset, and I am here with
Jonah, Book of Jonah.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Jonah.
Thank you.
So I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are, but would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are?
Well, I always hate this question because we're so many things in this lifetime, but I am a light worker here in Los Angeles currently that's here to help awaken humanity to higher states of consciousness and take my ball and go home. Pleiadian starseed, Anunnaki, gremlin, you can call me whatever you want, but I'm here to evolve the human consciousness.
Awesome. Me too.
Yes, sir. Yes,
For
sir.
sure, that's what we're here to do. So, what made you begin your where you're at now as an influencer? You have social media, you have a decent following, you're out here spreading your message and connecting. And what started that?
Can I cuss on here?
Go ahead.
I was getting the shit kicked out of me, if you want to know the truth. I didn't know what a dark night of the soul was. I didn't know what Mercury retrograde was. And all of a sudden I got hit with all these timelines and then started having these visions and dreams and deja vu and repeating numbers, and was trying to seek more information, but it wasn't very informative. So, that last dark night of the soul, because I feel like we have many, the last one was the one that really kicked me in the butt and got me to just speak my truth, that this is the Truman Show. This is a simulation. You chose everything before you came. And I'll never stop screaming that from the mountaintops because it feels like people get a little too comfortable in the simulation and they go back to sleep.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that many times, So after you had your dark night of the soul, right? What gave you the realization, right? Because you said that, life is a, simulation, holographic. Like, what is your version of reality?
My version of reality is, it's The Sims, right? I always talk about this, The Simpsons, right?
I like that.
Simpsons, short for simulation, right?
Yeah,
They have all these predictions, but my version of reality is, before you come to Earth, you choose a family.
Yeah.
Most of us chose trauma. Not all of us had the same path. And just because you didn't have trauma doesn't mean you didn't come here for the same purpose. But my version of reality is, you choose all this, and then you go on a mission, and then you wear many hats. And the reincarnation piece starts living through you as you live this life, because most of us have done so many different things, jack of all trades, that you finally evolve to know that this is a game, this is Grand Theft Auto. That to graduate, you got to love everybody, forgive everybody, and love yourself, forgive yourself, and that's it.
I see why we resonate, because that's exactly how I view it, right?
Yes.
So it's really crazy for me. I've always viewed life as a video game since I was younger.
Yeah.
And just like you said, our past life, light and information kind of, starts to activate through us when we become more aware. But for me, I've always looked at every lesson as, you're gaining experience points, and as you get a certain amount of experience points, and then you get a new skill, you go to the next level, and then you never have to really deal with that same level again, because you have mastered that level.
Yeah.
Like a game. I literally.
It is like a game. And when I look back at the games we played, I made this discovery the other day that Mario Brothers, you have Mario and Luigi, obviously.
Yeah,
Mario wore red, root chakra. Luigi wore green, heart
chakra, yeah.
Okay. The goal is to rescue the divine feminine, Princess P.
From the reptilians.
From the reptilians. Okay. And then you can now you have two choices to graduate this realm. You can collect all the coins and get all the points and get a high score, which is try to help everybody awaken.
Yeah,
or you can just zip through and beat the time bank and make it to the end. So it kind of goes hand in hand on we've been programming ourselves to see that this reality is just a scripted video game and a movie. But you're the star.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all
main
true.
Main character energy.
That it is, and it offends a lot of people. Anybody can be a main character. They just have to awaken, or at least want to awaken. But unfortunately, most people are too asleep in the program. They're too comfortable.
Yeah. And okay, it was really funny because I've never had anybody explain it exactly how I.
Man,
But that's one thing, so many different ways to reach that though too.
yeah.
And people can go star seeds, they can go through religion. Like people still can come to the same certain religion. The higher, more universal ones, the more dualistic ones are like put your mind in a box, but it's still connecting to that to light essentially.
That's it.
It's connecting to light, connecting to God, right? And building that relationship.
That's all. Ultimately, this leads you to your divinity and knowing that you're God, co-creating with God, that everything is energy, and so it all connects, and you can go any path you want.
Yeah.
And that's the real kicker here, because
Yeah.
most people start to think on the spiritual side, it's like a competition. Oh, I've never done a sound bowl. I've never done this. So people look down on you. Versus if you want to choose Christianity, just be a good Christian. Like
It'll lead to the same place
it'll
eventually.
lead to the same place. But anybody, I finally figured out, anybody who tries to push fear or push going to hell is just they're living in their truth, but it's not the really truth of
Exactly.
reality.
It's their truth. Everybody has their
That's
own
it.
truth. And
That's
none
it.
of it's wrong per se, but it's levels to it. What level are you playing?
That's right.
Video game.
That's right.
What mode are you playing? You playing easy? You playing, expert mode?
You choose the level. Yeah,
You
if
choose
you want,
which level you want to play.
it's like going to a restaurant and you check off the menu options. Let me see. I want pickles, onions, tomato. Okay, let me get childhood trauma. Let me get near-death experience. You can choose to play the game however hard you want, but ultimately you're still going to graduate if you follow just the basic principles.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think is the most important principle of playing this game?
The most important principle is love, and I would say self-love, because it's so easy to think you go through life loving yourself, but in reality you let people abuse you or dim your light or make you not feel like you're important, and you just kind of fall in that rhythm, or you abuse yourself with drugs, alcohol, gambling, things that lower your frequency. But once you learn self-love and true love, like that's true love, then you radiate that energy and you have the ability to basically change anyone's frequency outside.
Yeah. But you can only do it from true self-love.
It's all inside.
It's all about that. You have to have it to give it.
If
you don't truly have it, then you can't truly give it. That's one of the things that, really sticks out of my mind.
Well, and it sounds so, we've been hearing about this since like the hippie movement, and it sounds so cheesy.
But
As when you're growing up, you're like, dude, what are you talking about? Why are you hugging trees? But then you reach a level of self-love, and you really understand that that's the only thing that's real in the matrix, and the simulation is love. Everything else is just, the levels on how you get there. It's a facade.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's so funny because it's exactly like like the response I would have said. All right. So with that being said, we talk about the hippie movement and things like that, and we hear terms like tree huggers and things like that from the media, from movies, from all these different outlets. This brings me to the question: what is your favorite interpretation of reality? Like we talked about Mario, right?
Right.
I mean, there's so many different interpretations in art and cartoons and music, and you can look at it manifesting in many ways. What's your favorite interpretation?
I gotta say The Matrix, and as somebody, the Truman Show resonates heavy because it's like we're on this reality show or we're game show contestants, and everybody's watching us, and there's hidden cameras everywhere, but we're not aware of it. And everybody's evolving your story, right? In the Truman Show, the population was 5,000 to 1. 5,000 in the town, Truman was 1. And that's kind of how our world is when you go out in society. But in The Matrix, here's a guy who knew he was important, who was tapped into a different frequency, but it took Morpheus to come to awaken him to understand that we are all energetic slaves. Now, when you first wake up, you become angry, right? That how can I fall for that? Or why is the government doing this? It's only when you come to the realization that you got to hit the God frequency and that it's a game that you stop being mad at the game. Because even in the Matrix, they're batteries, right? The evolution of man, you got AI, right? Us versus the machines, which is happening right now. And so again, the object of that is to evolve and grow. So the Matrix, to me, sums up reality. Until you fully wake up, you're we're basically all energetic slaves.
Which brings me to another thing.
Okay.
So I watched one of your videos, and you were saying how we need to be teaching the truth,
Right.
right? Why do you think in today's age, right, where all information is available, you have the wealth of creation's knowledge in the palm of your hands, like why the truth isn't like widely accepted or even promoted, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier. People will believe lies all day before they'll believe the truth. And just like this confirmation, it's almost like they would rather the fairy tale of, my government is good for me. And let me not, I don't want to classify things as good or bad, because you will evolve to see that everything is necessary for your growth.
Exactly.
So it's not
Yeah.
down with the government, but it's understanding that these systems were in place for you to evolve past. So,
Yes.
once you view it in that way, it's like the only thing that's real is truth as well.
Yes.
Truth and
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Truth. There's nothing can be deviated from the truth. My truth might be different than yours, but I think there's so many. We have so many parallels that you start meeting people on the same frequency that you see past this bullshit timeline or that one or this or that,
Yeah.
and so it's just the ultimate frequency. Like they say, authenticity is the highest frequency. You can't fake the funk. That's why you see a
Yeah.
lot of people who had started creating content a few years ago. People fall by the wayside. But if you don't do the work, it's
Oh,
going
you
to be
got to do the
exposed.
work.
You
Yeah,
got to
you
do the
got-
work.
Yeah, there's not any real secrets in the high level spiritual
No.
realms. Everything is there, but you gotta definitely walk it, and you have to be authentic about it. That's what it is. Live your truth, be authentically you, and you'll never go wrong. Seek the truth,
If
and
you
do
got-
it with love.
And do it with love. If you have to change or evolve yourself to fit in spiritual circles or political circles or whatever realm you're in, that's not for you. From the time most of us started to awaken until now, you evolve. And some people, again, they fall back asleep and go. That's their role. They're making 200K a year. I'm going back in the matrix.
Yeah.
No problem. But understanding that when you start going way down the rabbit hole, it's never ending. You just keep going, and you want to see how far you can take your consciousness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's where all the mystical, magical things come up with, because you can take it really far. That's one of the things too, right? And back to what you were saying about, everything is necessary, right?
Right.
The polarity is there for a reason. If you didn't see the polarity in it, you will have no perception of it.
Right.
That's one of the reasons we have the dark nights of the souls, like you were saying, so we can go from the lowest low to a much higher high. Because if everything was just all, fine and dandy, you have no reason to seek the other end of the spectrum.
That's exactly right. And I try to avoid politics like the plague, but I want to bring up this example because just to understand how much I think a lot of us have evolved and understand this game. Somebody reached out to me and told me that Donald Trump was the reincarnation of Yeshua. Now, I had to, before I laughed or blew a fuse, I said, okay, let's break this down. Would Yeshua or Jesus sell you a Bible with his name on it? According to the teachings, probably not.
Nah.
Would he kick immigrants out of a country knowing that borders weren't real? Probably not.
Nah.
Would he, the list goes on and on of things, but it's also understanding that he's serving his purpose. He is changing the game. Donald Trump is a glitch in the matrix. So
Yeah, for sure.
rather than people, we get so vested in the storyline today because we're fed so many things. They need the collective conscience to believe these things on TV. They need people to believe, and somebody at a lower frequency can't move the needle, but they know once they get us, then it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Then we've now manifested their timeline. So I understand the necessity of everyone. And if he's Yeshua in your world, he's Yeshua. I can't knock you for that.
I haven't heard that one.
I haven't either. They told me he's a Pleiadian, galactic, we've been hearing that for 3
Actually, I take
years.
that back. I've heard that. I've
You've heard the
yeah,
Pleiadian.
no, I've heard the Antichrist. I've heard
Yeah.
the Jesus. So yeah, I take that back. I have heard.
It, it's I understand this. To me, if to be in politics, to me again is
Yeah.
very low vibrational. The goal here to me is to bring people to their divinity, to expose the system that we live in, and to understand that you're God, I'm God, and that we're all co-creating.
Yeah.
We came here for love, peace, and harmony. But to build things, to drill things in Mother Earth, to do things that from the outside we would never do, or a light worker would probably never do,
Yeah.
that doesn't jive. But he's necessary to wake up
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
You have to have the polarity here to wake us up, because otherwise we just fall into the same system and nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
It's a weird
Great
thing
insight.
it's a crazy thing to think about, because I had to evolve past him, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why does he
yeah.
trigger me so much? Because I recognize a version of myself that was Donald Trump, obviously not as bad and not as big, right? But it's understanding that wanting to be loved, the mother program, right? I went through that. The wanting everybody to like me, from the criminals to the good people. I wanted everybody to like me or
Yeah.
love me. I would like, and if somebody didn't like me, I couldn't stand it. I would lose sleep over it. So I see these characteristics of an old version of me that I evolved past, and so again, I just understand that he's a necessary part of this game.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. And I view it exactly the same. It was a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. But it's just not about getting rich. It's like your worldview, right? And how, you create your reality, essentially, right? And one of the things that he says in it is like, even when it comes to crooked politicians, even though, people that start wars and everything, that they are necessary. They're not separate from the whole.
That's
Like
right.
we are all one, one conscious entity moving together as one, and it's just a manifestation of us all growing and evolving as one. It's a very necessary part of our experience. And if it wasn't for that, then we wouldn't have the freedoms we have now. We're always growing into higher levels of evolution.
If we just all came down here as ascended masters and spiritual teachers, and it was just peace and love, why wouldn't we just stay home?
Exactly.
The earth is a test. This is a school to
Yeah,
sharpen
yeah.
your skills.
Yeah.
So they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at us to evolve. And that if that includes making you hate somebody, you have to get to the root cause, because hate is really love.
Yeah.
You have to get to the root cause of why something bothers you. And we are all one. We lost a lot of our brothers and sisters to what we perceive as the darkness.
Yeah,
But in
exactly.
reality, I understand the game so much now. If we're contestants on a game show, you got two choices, Bubba. You can be light and you can be dark. You can be a hero or you can be the villain. But just commit. If you're going to be the villain, be all the way the villain. If you're going to be the hero, be all the way the hero. But when you get stuck in the middle is when you get karma.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you could look at what feels like the most tyrannical people in history. They didn't really get that bad of karma. Most crooks I knew in my life, very rarely did the worst people I knew get what they had coming to them.
Yeah.
I don't wish that on anybody, but it's understanding that they played a role.
Yeah.
But to graduate this realm, you got to be Mario Luigi, dog.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and it's interesting, because in somebody's truth, we play the bad guy, no matter what. Even me, as many people as I've helped and taught and changed lives and everything else, I've played the bad guy many a times, but committed to, the higher Mario and Luigi realm.
Get to. I think that we all have, and it's understanding that when you meet a lot of people, because we all love people inherently. That's our all of
Yeah.
us. We can talk trash and say they're low vibe. We all love people, and even if they do us wrong, we still forgive them. It's just this evolution. So I'm sorry for everybody that met me early in the journey when my energy was
Same.
all over the place.
Same.
And I'm so many different versions. We're evolving by not just by the year, but by the month and by the week. Like as new information
Yeah.
comes and
Yeah.
higher states of consciousness. So I would love to see the people that we cross paths on the journey, because even if somebody, what we feel hurt us, it activates you to change your path and get you to evolve. We just keep swimming through each other's lives to get to the highest timeline. That's what this is about.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So switching subjects,
Sure.
right? I have a question. So what is the most profound experience you've had since your awakening?
The most profound experience I had, I will say this. Um, I was with, okay, a follower came to pick me up. I say follower, a brother, a tribe member.
Mm-hmm.
Will the Way Harris came to pick me up in my apartment in Seabrook, Texas. And all of a sudden, the 2 weeks before this, I had been getting these downloads. It was time to leave Texas, that I had
Mm-hmm.
to leave my CBD store. I had to leave everything, which was like maddening because I didn't have much money at the time. And so we head out and we left for Los Angeles. Something said you got to go to LA for
Yeah.
whatever reason. This was in 2021. And on the way here, we in Arizona there was like this back road. Something happened where the GPS malfunctioned or glitched,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up way off under this back road. And the next thing you know, I swear to God, it was like we were on a ship, me and Will.
Mm-hmm.
But it was consciousness. And I was communicating through Will's avatar with all the people who had passed through my life. And I'll say
Yeah,
two
yeah.
names: Tommy Bowie, actually three names: Tommy Bowie, Samantha Leesa, and Paul Tran. And all these people, I was talking through his avatar,
Mm-hmm.
through all these people, whether it comes from a higher source, whether it was my higher self, but they were showing me how the game was created. And I saw myself. We're literally listening to Kanye in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
and I could hear the sound frequencies, but they showed me when I created the character Jonah Dwayne Rogers,
Yeah.
that I created a half black, half white guy to try to unite people. Like I was going to go on this hero's journey, that ultimately it was a game, but I could also see the other characters that were created here
Mm-hmm.
in entertainment or celebrities, and I could see their archetype and their path. And ultimately, there's only so many types of versions of us.
Yeah.
Everybody falls in some category, but it was the craziest. I mean, the dials weren't working, like the electronics in the car. I was completely tapped into another dimension. I haven't told that story many times, but it was the
That's awesome.
realest
Yeah.
supernatural confirmation. Because just like you get 1,000 confirmations or mystical magical things happen where you're like, okay, I'm bending energy, or I'm bending
Yeah.
time, or I just jumped the timeline. But there's some that just stick out, that you don't need mushrooms or whatever plant medicines.
Exactly.
It happens like sober, where you're
Yeah,
like, oh shit.
yeah. For sure, for sure. Awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've had several. I don't even know which one's my most profound one. I don't even know if I should share.
Brother, this
so,
this this is the age of sharing. But go ahead, go
so
ahead.
okay. So when I started my journey, right, what led me to be the person I am is trauma, my dark night of the soul, and at the time I hated myself, and I tried to unalive myself twice,
Wow.
right? First time, I was running a car lot, and I took one of the cars, put it in the garage, shut the garage door, ran a hose from one exhaust, put it into the car,
Oh shit.
and you know how long it takes somebody to, go from carbon monoxide poison? About 15, 20 minutes. I was in there for 2.5 hours. I was in there for 2.5 hours, brother.
Wow.
And then, one of my friends that got there at the same time, the police had got there because, they thought something was up, and they pulled me out. They broke in and pulled me out, and, went to the hospital and stuff. And we're really going through it still,
Wow.
right? My mom, who didn't raise me, we didn't have a good relationship or anything. And this was like, I think I was like 28, 29 at the time. She was like, come to Utah to spend time, with me and my family. I want to rebuild our relationship. So I go there, and this is like December, is this Christmas vacation. So I'll go there right before Christmas and leave the day before New Year's. I make it back home, and I'm back home still, out of it, still wanting to unalive myself. So I tried again. I filled my prescription from the first time it happened on New Year's Eve. Got a fifth of Crown, down the entire 60 pills of Wellbutrin with the whole bottle of Crown, and I woke up 24 hours later, like unable to really move. My blood vessel would burst in my eyes. There's all types of crazy stuff going on, right? So end up in the hospital. When I'm there, my mom was still calling me while I was there, like every day. And one of the days she called me and said, you know, RJ, your life means something, right? Your life really means something. You need to figure out why you're here, because obviously you're still supposed to be here.
Right.
You know, it's very, very clear. I'm pretty sure I died both times.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I get that. Obviously, I'm supposed to be here. And later on that night, she passed.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was the last time I spoke to her. So I get out of the hospital. I'm like, oh wow, you know, can't let my mom die,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
like literally
Absolutely.
her last words would be like words of encouragement, like you're loved, you know, and you know, figure out why you're here, and because it's obviously a reason you're still here. And you know, from there I just started studying and everything else, and then I started getting into meditation, but I never really meditated.
Yeah.
So I was sitting with my cousin at my house. This is on my birthday, January 8th. I was sitting in my house on my bed and started meditating, one of the first times I ever meditated. And something in me just told me to, you know, do the most natural thing possible. Forget everything you know about meditation and just sit and do the most natural thing possible. And that's what I did. And as I was sitting there, I started getting disconnected from my breath. My vision started turning completely white.
Mm.
It got to the point where I felt like I was going to suffocate. I felt like I was going to, like, you know, but it would be like 15, 20 seconds. And I've done breath work before. I know I can hold my breath for 3-4 minutes, you know, as we're, you know, doing certain types of breath work. So obviously something's wrong. You know, something's not as, I'm not about to suffocate. So I make it through that. And the moment I get to the point where I feel like I can't hold my breath anymore, literally I left my body.
Mm.
First, I couldn't differentiate whether I had my eyes open or closed, and then I literally just astral projected into the cosmos and was like speaking to God. And I'm up there, and literally, first thing out of my mind is like, well, what should I do? I'm here.
Right.
You know, what should I do? And I got my answer. You know, I had a bunch of other questions and stuff. Came back to my body, and my crown was wide open. I felt connected to this energy that was just surging through my entire body. And when I came back, I could search through my mind. I could feel where all the depression and chaos was in my mind. I was able to heal it and bring it, you know, into silence and quietude. I was able to go through my physical organs and body and literally heal each one of my organs, because I mean, I didn't die, but, you know, you know, there was some damage done, you know.
Right.
And literally, in that moment, I was able to literally heal all of it. It was really, really beautiful. When I came back to my body, though, everything was just different.
Yeah.
I could see energy, I could see spirits, I could feel my energy much more. The very next day, went to my cousin's house in his mom's eye, and she just passed through. Rest in peace, Margaret. I got crazy stories, funny
Yeah.
stories with her too. But her eye was infected, and she couldn't move it, right? And she was in a lot of pain, and I knew about energy healing, but I didn't know energy healing. I knew it was a thing, possibly. You know, at that time, I was like, oh, let me try something. I can feel my energy and everything. And, you know, I just tried to heal her just naturally, you know, and about a minute or so, she's like, oh, wow, my eye, I can see, I can move it. It doesn't hurt anymore. And this is like the very next day after I had that experience. You know, and from there, I'm just, okay, I got to figure this out. And then download after download, activation after activation, and just more profound, mystical, magical experiences.
You got the gift. Everything you just described, you know, along this journey, how I, you know, because at times I'm sure on your journey you felt crazy, right? Like you felt like
Oh, of course.
you were dissociating from reality. Where like, is this real? Am I tripping?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that near death experience, you did die. Like, and for lack of a better term, main characters. You can't actually die. Like it's a weird thing where a different version of you hops in.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there, in the multiverse, there are obviously so many different versions of you. So a different version comes in, and this is the one that you chose before you came, and now you're living your purpose. But everything you say, I know deeply resonates with the people out there, because this realm is so dense, it's so negative, and that the self-hatred is like a huge part of you. Either fall into addictions, or it's just a tough reality to be in, and
Yeah.
most people don't want to be here. So that's the path of again, another, for lack of a better term, chosen, that you chose this path before you came to be the healer, and you're activated. the rarest in the population is that you got through all the programming to see that you had a higher purpose and higher gift, and your hands at some point will be able to cure cancer. That's what they don't tell you. These are the visions and dreams that
Oh,
I
I
had.
already know how to.
Okay. Yeah, so then you know. I mean, you've been living that path and that
I
purpose.
don't know
And
if I should let that leave that on here.
no, but seriously, it's so frowned upon, when you look at all the different, you know, companies and many mansions were built off no cure for cancer,
Yeah, yeah,
whenever it could always be cured.
yeah.
And that's just a sad reality that a lot of those timelines are dying, but more of us are waking up to see that, okay, we're just meant to exist in society and help them evolve with our energy. And the higher you evolve and the more you evolve is the more they evolve.
Yeah.
One thing that I had to stop doing was getting attached to the outcomes.
Yes.
Is just
Yeah, yeah.
we attach too much on, again, good, bad, dark, light. Everything just exists. And I think that's really what being in 5D is, right? Being in fourth dimension consciousness to me is still good versus evil, us versus them, Republican, Democrat. When 5D is like we're all necessary parts to the same functioning
Yeah.
consciousness. And so why hate or judge your brother or sister? It's better to spread light than
Yeah.
to try to awaken you to truth. So you need those, what we would perceive as our opponent, which is our shadow side,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
have to have. I always use the example of Bruce Willis and Unbreakable with
Yeah,
Samuel L.
I
Jackson.
love that the whole series.
Yeah, that movie was amazing, and so you have two people who both have gifts, one dark, one light,
Yeah.
but ultimately they would get along in any normal circumstance.
Yeah.
But what their perception of reality and what's here to help change the world, they're both
different.
necessary, but they're different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Awesome. I love that. I love that response. Thank you. Any questions for me?
yeah, I mean, what do you, how do you describe reality when somebody comes to you and says, what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life if none of this is real? What is your response?
Evolution. That's the driving force of the universe. Everything evolves from the Big Bang until where we're at now. Everything is growing and evolving, and where you're at right now, you're perfect for where you're at. Whatever level you're in, you're a perfect vibrational match to that. The essence of who you are is all of it anyway.
I love it.
So is there a meaning to it? To experience life.
Yep.
It's life is meant to experience life so you can grow and evolve. And this is a natural part of who and what we are. And this is why when you embrace yourself and your authenticity, that's what you do. You just naturally grow and evolve because that's the essence of who and what you are, all the way from the beginning of creation and light coming into form as a photon and then branching out in different polarities and everything else. Like, it just grows and evolves. And that's just part of who we are when we search and live authentically. We just grow and evolve. That's the point.
I love that. I love that. What do you envision when I say, like, breaking the simulation? What do you envision that looks like as a whole and as a society? Or do you feel like that this plane is never meant for interdimensional travel, or this to break? Maybe that it's just here to be the movie set.
It's here to be the movie set. This is
Okay.
cool. It's like this is like one of the most advanced schools,
Yeah.
because it's so much polarity. Being in the physical realm, the lowest density, it's what gives you the greatest opportunity to grow and evolve.
Right.
Because without a physical body, you can't do that.
Very true.
It takes a very long time, but because we're grounded in the physical, this is our vehicle, so we can experience pain, we can experience trauma and suffering and stuff. Once you leave your body, you're a perfect vibrational match to whatever realm you're in mentally.
Right.
Your spirit's there, so there's no polarity.
Okay.
You are that. And physically, you're that too, but because you have a physical body, that's what causes the ability to see the polarity and have free will and choose, I want to, experience what this person's light showed me, or this movie's light showed me, or this, all these different archetypes and experiences. But ultimately,
The set is, so you're saying the set is basically grounded, not moving, not changing. You just come for the experience, and then
I mean, it grows and evolves. It
Yeah, for
changes.
sure,
It grows
absolutely.
and evolves, but it will always be here as that in some way, even if it's not in extreme polarity. Like, there's planets out there in which everybody becomes enlightened in one lifetime,
Okay.
right? So it's possible.
Right.
But what's the fun in that?
No,
Right?
that is the truth.
'Cause
So when I say the term star seed,
mhm,
obviously I know you know what a star seed is, but what do you consider yourself as beyond a light being? We're all light existing in a physical avatar.
yes.
Do you feel like you know where your origins are or where you're from, or what do you consider yourself?
So in Hermetics, the essence of who and what you are is God. It's a vibrational match to God. You are all of it. Just like you, I remember I saw you, I walked across your live stream. What are you? Like, I am everything.
Yeah,
You are.
yeah,
And wherever you focus your intention, that's what you become, whatever you identify with. That's why identity is a really big thing, because whatever you identify with, remember the mantra, I am, right?
right.
I meaning your light, am equaling the sum total of your experience, and whatever follows that mantra, I am blank, your identity, or id, entity,
Right.
I, the entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're that. So whatever you identify, we can identify with any part of you, the God part of you, the angel part of you, the witch part of you, right? The doctor part of you, the criminal part of you, the starseed part of you. And the more you pay attention to that, that's what gives you your experience. You'll find more starseeds, right? More your people, whether you're Palladian, Syrian,
Yeah.
avian, whatever it is. Once you ground yourself in that level, then all the other people that resonate with that, that's who you begin to resonate with, and you live that journey. So whatever you pay attention to, you know.
That might be the best answer I've ever heard because most people can't typically get to this level or haven't gotten to this level
Mm,
where if you consider yourself just black or just African descent or you just consider yourself Christian or you just consider yourself Muslim or I'm just a Pleiadian or you're everything existing at the same time and
yes.
everything else is just a label to create division. There's no path to coming together if if what we're following in the program of hearing what other people say. So
Yeah.
that is the absolute best answer that you could give. Do you feel like how many times do you feel like you've reincarnated or do you feel like this is your first time on earth?
Oh, we don't get here being for our first time. Like
Yeah.
no, oh, so like
No.
I've seen timelines and past lives from thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, you know. And I've taught for many, many, many incarnations. This is something I
Yeah.
know for a
Yeah.
fact. I've had other people tell me, "Oh, I saw us in this." I've seen it in real life 101. Oh wow, people looking at me. Oh, I can see your your dragon's form. I can see your Hermes form. I can see your all these different aspects of me just being me from many places. I used to live in Sedona, so there's psychics everywhere, and people will come up to me all the time. Oh my God, let me tell you what I see.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the funny part is we the human mind only thinks of time, the linear way of like past lives, but what about future lives too? That's the thing is that you could have been some galactic warrior in the
Yes.
future, and when you really understand it, then it's just okay. I'm an iPhone. How can I evolve? What is the operating system that I'm getting today?
Yes.
What is the lesson I need to get today? Even
Yeah.
in the Matrix scene, when he's there, Trinity goes to fly the helicopter, and
Hmm.
she gets the download. Hey, Tank, I need to fly an Apache. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how it comes for us, and
Yeah.
that's it's
Yeah. For sure.
when you get here, it is a beautiful place to be. When somebody tells you about the 144,000
Hmm.
or the 12 tribes or a frequency, what is your explanation? What do you resonate with? And knowing that and this is just from speaking from personal experience. You have to, and I know you know by now, but you're very, 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 very rare. There's not that like they don't make this um, our algorithm very much.
Yeah.
What when somebody says 144,000, what's your interpretation?
So we think about like star seeds and indigo children and things like that. Like they're things. They're real. All of it is. It's all a manifestation of the one. They're real things. Like everything is real.
Right.
There's no such thing as non-existence. There's no such. It's
I
impossible
love
for
that.
something to not exist.
Right.
If you think it's it's a thing. But when it comes to the 144,000, yes, there are people, there are beings that are on this higher level that are reincarnating to teach and to bring the collective upward. It's very necessary for that to happen. There's times where there's lower beings that are more out there and lowering it, to make room for, the next wave of people to come in and bring it up to the next level. It has to be that. It has to be that polarity, and that's what we're here for. We're part of that. Once again, your darkness teaches you more than your light. The
Yeah.
light guides you, the darkness teaches you. This is where you don't want to be. This is the negatives. I can say you don't want to be, because everything you did, when you did it, you wanted to do it.
100%.
and I'm at peace with that. But I've raised the frequency and vibration of that, and that's what gave me the push in order for me to be who I am, right? And some of us that, like you said, we were chosen. We chose to do this. We don't have to.
It's so funny. We don't have to. That's the thing, is you can always, the free will piece of this is you can always enter an alternate timeline
Yeah.
where you just want to, go sack groceries at Walmart. You can do whatever you want. The goal
Yeah.
here is to awaken to
Yeah.
higher states of consciousness and affect people's energy.
Yeah.
But again, once you walk that path and you start teaching, you just want people to reach the joy and self-fulfillment and evolve past the things that used to keep us bogged down. Because
Yeah, for
the whole
sure.
goal is to say, if I can make it, or if I can do it, you for sure can do it.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of willpower, or I guess willpower, to even want to eject from the matrix. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's, you got to have balls.
Yeah. Yeah. For
And
sure.
so for you to still be here, again, it's a testament to who you are, to who your character and who you are always meant to be. And you can now come from an authentic place for people who have also been in that situation, saying,
Yeah.
dog, you've been exactly where I'm at, and you stood the test of time, and you're still here.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the best gift that you can give to anyone is to let them know that their life matters, that we are
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
equal. And it's just a funny thing that we're, even like starseeds, I call us like admins. We're like admins in the game, or like we come to correct the energy, good or bad.
Yeah.
We come to
Yeah.
alchemize and transmute that shit.
Yeah. And it's necessary, because when it comes to consciousness, spirits, aliens, this light and energy, right? There's no way that super high frequency of light can interact with the physical realm if it don't have a physical conduit for that information to make it to the physical realm.
Right.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
There's no way that there's no connection there. There's no way that light can literally reach you.
Right.
And that's why we have the star seeds and indigo children, the 144,000 and those, those things. And it's real.
It's all real. It's been documented for hundreds of years. It's actually been documented for thousands of years. But before we had written languages, they had caves, and they would draw pictures.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
people were doing way more. I almost think that we have devolved as a species, because they were levitating and doing this. The pictures and the stories told, especially by the native tribes, of things that people used to do were amazing. Like, we're in the electronic age, and it's a very tough time here to evolve, but we're at the master level. We came there. This has been prophesied for thousands of years, this exact time period, and they told us exactly what was going to happen, whether we manifested it by reading what they said was going to happen, or this was always the way it was supposed to be. It doesn't matter, because we're here now.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, if you would told me we would have this conversation 10 years ago,
No, bro.
nah,
No.
not at all, not at all. Even though it's a part of us that knows it, deep down, and it's beautiful that we can inspire people to even bring up the conversations, because just bringing up that light and that type of, mindset, even if they don't fully believe, it's still the bridge into, plant that seed. Oh, maybe it is, maybe,
You just spark it. I could go tell these people sitting over here right now, you guys are star seeds, and I have just emitted a frequency. They might glitch, and they might not. But they're guaranteed they're going to go look it up, and I've already stimulated their mind to even spark that. To maybe I can help evolve somebody's consciousness. Maybe.
Yeah. Beautiful thing though too is that I feel like we don't even have to go to that extreme. Literally just sharing your light, just smiling. Hey, how you doing?
That's
it literally that transmission of subconscious energy. Even, namaste. That's why, namaste is, the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. You were connected on the higher level, and you can plant those seeds that way. You know.
100%. That's probably the better way. I remember, I remember one time I was at the airport. I was at the airport and I was reaching for my wallet or something like that, and I'm at the counter,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden a notification comes on my phone that says Starseed. So I'm assuming that this is a download.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
did you,
yeah.
did you know you're a Starseed? And I saw Star. I swear to God, I thought she was gonna call security on me because I was just like so like
Yeah,
telling like, look, listen to me, listen. And so it is better to just it's better to give somebody a high five or just
yeah.
shine your light
Yeah.
and just even saying hello. That's an activation.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, because our energy, like, we affect, in the same way our environment affects us. It affects the way you think, the way you act, the way you feel, the resonance, and like how your experience manifests in your life. Same thing with just being around people. We have an effect on our environment.
Right,
Literally, from just being yourself. You literally begin to glow. You can look at people that live in their purpose.
right.
They don't look like people that's depressed and stuff because they're literally glowing. Their light is radiating, and they have a huge influence on their environment and people around them.
Right.
You know, and that's the benefit of loving yourself, right? Whereas if you don't love yourself so much, you'll close yourself off, and you'll be ruled by your environment,
It,
right?
it's so easy to say, and I feel like all of us at some point were in the victim mentality, and everybody's out to get me. Why is this happening? Why is that happening?
Yeah.
And then we seek some sort of gratification in other people. So you tell people when they call you, "Oh, you ain't gonna believe this, dog." Oh, look, man.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get out of that, and once you say, "I'm so thankful this happened to me," like that's a
Yeah.
hard place to be.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
can say, "I'm thankful for this parking ticket, even though I just paid the ticket." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even though I just paid for it, that's the part of like, okay, what lesson is here? And so to get here, that everything has to happen to evolve you, for you to meet exactly who you're supposed to be, for you to graduate exactly when you're supposed to graduate. This is all part of God's plan and part of your plan.
Yeah.
And when you see it and you accept it for what it is, it's just a beautiful life. Nothing, you it's just a beautiful life. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I said, I love the fact that, well, you refer to it as 5D consciousness, right?
Right.
Whereas 4D would be the living in the duality of
Right.
everything, whereas 5D is like being non-dual, which is
Right.
like some of the highest teachings, non-duality. So you can see the oneness of it all, and that's a beautiful place to be.
That's why I like Buddhism. Buddhism, when I went to Sri Lanka a couple years ago, and I never was around Buddhists my whole life. I was never around spiritual people my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden they're teaching me about energy, frequency, vibration. Okay, that sounds like Tesla. They're teaching me about reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because the Christians teach you that reincarnation isn't real, and they don't talk much about fasting, but other evolved consciousness around the world teach it. Okay, I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
And then the soul contracts, that your mom's not your mom, your dad's not your dad,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everybody's a version of you. You just chose this particular life to graduate this realm. Or, as like a lot of us, they use that term ascended masters, just means you came to earth, you passed, you
Mm-hmm.
left and said, "Hey dog, I'm finna come pull up again."
Yeah.
So the it's really, the Buddhist is closest. If you could combine all of them, I know there's a word for it, but I haven't looked into it. But if you could combine all of them, that's in all spiritual teachings and principles.
Mm-hmm.
You can be every version of yourself you want to be. There's things in the Quran that I feel like are profound, like fasting, where they teach you that obviously you don't fast for fitness or for health. You fast to keep away dark and negative entities.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I didn't get into that fasting doing that. But you see, when I know I'm at a low vibration or I'm attracted to weird energy, I'm like, no, it's
Yeah,
time to stop
yeah,
eating.
yeah, exactly. That's funny you said that. When I first started my awakening, matter of fact, some of my first TikToks was me literally, hey, look, it's my birthday. I'm doing a 7-day water fast.
I love that.
First time ever doing it, and literally
Because we're so
changed my life.
Because we're so conditioned to I gotta eat birthday cake, or there's a
Yeah.
holiday, or I gotta go out to eat. Like, once you can just say, forget the holidays, time's not real, all these things. Fasting is the absolute cheat code here. More
Yeah.
than plant medicines, more than just not eating connects you to your higher self. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what's wrong down there?
Yeah,
Okay, we're
yeah.
listening. Okay, pray.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's funny, you can look at some of the stories of like whole religions and stuff that were created, and the founder is usually some mystic who was wandering in the woods or in the mountains and stuff and hasn't eaten in in however long. Like the guy who created Reiki,
Yeah.
Dr. Usui, he was up on the mountain for like 21 days and then didn't eat, and then it came to him. You know,
Yeah.
that divine spark came, or, oh, I need to give this to, I need to give this to the world. And then it if you haven't fasted, I'm not a medical expert,
Right.
but I'm telling you, it can change your life, and you'll realize your relationship to yourself. It's still about knowledge of self, right? Knowing that you can say no, knowing that you have willpower, knowing that your mind rules over your body, and until you have that experience to really get it and understand it, it doesn't mean much to you. But when you do it, your whole perception of yourself, your mind, your cravings, your intuition begins to change completely.
It feels like the first day and a half, like my first fast was in 2020, and it was a 3-day fast. And it feels like a day and a half in, the devil is leaving your body. Whatever substance, whatever you've been eating or taking in, your body's pissed. And you reach these points in fasting where you're like, okay, I'm getting dizzy, or I can't do this, or I can't go to the gym, or I can't. It, you, we do so much for our physical health, right? And even our mental health, but what do we do for our spirit?
Yeah.
Fasting is for your spirit.
Yeah.
And when you see it that way, and the cancerous cells start eating itself, and when you get to about day 7, the dreams are like off the chain, where you're just like,
because your body chemistry is regulated.
Yep.
There's so much stuff that's out there, in our food supply that stops it. It stops your body chemistry from acting appropriately. And even constantly eating, all your energy you would be using to leave your body, enter into different realms, lucid dream, and all that stuff. All the energy is used digesting all the food that's still in your gut throughout the day.
Yep.
So once you step away from that, then you're able to access all types of different information and realms and realities, and build that relationship with your spirit, because all your energy is not grounded in your gut.
It's a powerful tool. I just started one last night. That's funny you said a
Awesome.
7-day. I just started it. But the hard part about it is to be disciplined, because it can be feast or famine. If I'm either fasting or I might be at the buffet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. It's like, oh well, I fat. Let me make up for lost time, and I got to stop doing that.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people say that I'll run a couple things by you. Here's my philosophy. But some people say that if you have issues with eating, is something to do with a past life where you would probably went in times without, and so you didn't know when you were going to eat again. So it's like this thing, because not everybody has that program.
Yeah,
The up and down fluctuation of weight. And here's another download I got, that the other day there was a yard sale, and there was this couple lived there for over 100 years, or generations lived there, and they had these old books. So I'm like, of course I'm going to look for a Bible. Like, I want to look for some old texts.
Yeah.
And I found a 1611 print, and I found these other things. But while I was there, I'm seeing all this couple's history come to life, and you could see their pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about a lot of this. Like, my mom used to love going to the thrift store. And I remember going, you go to these places, and you get things that are secondhand. But that's like a trait from like a couple thousand years ago, when we used the barter and trade system, when you would trade things. And I was like, okay, this is like a past life coming through, because even when that show came on, Storage Wars, I was like, man, I'm gonna go buy me a locker. You're gonna get a treasure. Like, that was always my philosophy, is that I bought a couple lockers and I didn't get shit. But
I thought about that too.
yeah, but I feel like all your past and future, everything's coming through your avatar, and you start to see these patterns that connect. So that was pretty cool. But really quick, I opened one of the Bibles, and inside, whoever wrote 11/11/1899, and I'm like, damn, you were into. Like, you cannot make this up. And it said El Paso, Texas. I'm from Houston. But, But it was just like, all right, I got to read this book. When I hear you, and I hear your journey, and obviously you're a great teacher and you've been doing this for a long time, I feel like it reminded me of, in the beginning of my journey, that it's so intimidating when you hear somebody so well versed, so well spoken, because you are the rarest type of person that I meet. Like, you understand the alien parts of things, you understand consciousness, you understand God, and the spiritual piece, and that we live in a video game. How did you evolve and get there? Is there a couple of books you read that changed your mindset? I mean, or like, because it's a lot. It's so much information that is limitless. How did you get to where you are right now?
Well, one of the biggest things is like not being stuck to any of it.
Yeah.
And this is what stops a lot of people is everything. Once again, we talked about this earlier, that the essence of who you are is evolution, is to evolve. So we come across situations, ideologies, philosophies, experiences, and these are bridges into our next step of evolution. You go through it necessarily, because like when I grew up, I'm this way because I wasn't raised by my parents, because I grew up gang banging and running the streets and fighting and shooting and all types of stuff. I started getting into politics because of that.
Mm.
I could have been stuck there. I got into politics and then went from there to, okay, let me get into business. That's what politics led me to, because I knew I didn't want to be in the political realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that led me to where I'm at today, right? So I could have easily been stuck to that. And then
Right.
even in the beginning of your journey, we go through different philosophies and understandings and stuff like that. And those are, there's always higher levels of truth.
Right.
So not being stuck, you're supposed to cross the bridge. Okay, what is this teaching me right here in this moment that I need to know? Okay, don't stick to it, and then keep growing and evolving. And I've been fortunate enough that I've experienced so many different traditions, religions, ideologies, philosophies, and stuff to see the oneness of it. But you have to open yourself up, because the highest spiritual teachings are all teachings on non-duality.
Right.
Right? And it's interesting because the most spiritual people usually don't have the strongest spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that, right? Some of the people who have the strongest spirits and the most mental, spiritual strength out there are high-level athletes, high-level academics, high-level musicians.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be spiritual at all.
Right.
But they're on this level in the vibrational scale of things, as opposed to people who stay stuck to these tools that were meant for you to cross that bridge, to see the oneness of all, but then they stay stuck in those lower realms, and and kind of separate from the rest of themselves, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautifully put, and that's something I did notice. I always talk about the most conscious people I have met on this journey are not actors. I'm sorry, athletes and musicians. They definitely understand energy. Actors, to me, are more on the lower scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, it's maybe it doesn't have to do so much with their career path, but I just noticed that correlation. So uh, the wanting to evolve, the wanting to get better, the
Mm-hmm.
wanting to say, like, somebody comes and asks you a question, your answer right now could be different a year from now, because we are constantly evolving. This
Yeah.
is a multiverse, and we are multidimensional. There is no right or wrong, because everybody creates their own reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in this like, that's why I always use the Jesus example of, did Jesus get crucified? Well, yes and no. It just,
Yeah.
it's there's one where he had a timeline where he had a love story, ran away with Mary Magdalene,
Mm-hmm.
didn't get crucified. It was Judas. Like, everything's open to your interpretation. So that's the beauty of our
Yeah.
reality,
Yeah.
and how there it doesn't matter when you start your awakening process. It doesn't matter. It's just start somewhere. You can read
Mm-hmm.
a page a day, but eventually you're going to be so intrigued, you're going to get engulfed in it, that you have to slow down, because it can become intoxicating,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you end up on a Wikipedia page, and 16 lines down researching one thing, because it's just so connected and fascinating.
Yeah.
So just take your time with it.
Yeah. And that brings me to another point, is having the goal to see the truth of what you're experiencing, because we come across delusions that are meant as bridges into truth. So not sticking to any of that stuff. Like, we come across all types of stuff that may not be, factual. There's whole books that are nonfiction that have nothing but lies in them,
Right.
right? Where there are non-fictional books that have nothing but universal truths in them, right? So not sticking to it, using that information, and then, okay, what is this teaching me right here, right now? Because it may be what you need right there, right now, even if it's not factual. So growing and evolving, and always be open to knowing that we know nothing at all.
All right, now I gotta ask you, man, is the Earth flat or round? Because it's such a divisive topic. Like, I think a lot of people don't really talk about it as much anymore. But for one
Mhm.
time, that was like the hottest topic in the world. And I always say it doesn't matter. People overcommit. But if somebody had a stack of money right now and said, "This is your money. You got to bet all your money," what would you say?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Because, and I say this because, reality, physical reality is a belief-based thing. You experience what you believe and what you are mostly invested in. You do not experience truth. You experience your beliefs. If you're a Klansman and you look at me and you believe I'm some whatever, that's how you're going to view me.
Right.
Whereas if you believe, okay, cool, he's just a normal person, that's how you're going to view me and react and everything else.
Right.
And that's just like a simple level, but literally anything that you look at from the perspective and your attachment, that's how you're going to view it.
yeah.
In the most mystical, magical ways possible. This is why all the yogis and mystics and monks and stuff say that life is an illusion, because we literally see the way our brains work. And you can check out neuroscience and all the studies. We view life, we perceive our reality based off our belief structures. I honestly believe if you go up, if you believe it's flat, you're going to see it as flat. This is why, and all the reasons and your connection and relationship to it, everything's going to point towards that.
Right.
Everything. Just like you can look at politics. Everybody believes they're on the right side. War, everybody believes they're on the right side.
Right.
Who's on the right side? What's the right perspective?
It's really a much more peaceful life when you can live life in that way, in that perspective. And it takes forever to get here because it is ingrained in us. Competition from the time you're a child. You got to be better than this person. It starts with sports. Not that sports are a bad thing, but it's being better than the next person, or it's their side versus our side. And it's such a deep level of programming. Well, what if I don't want a side? What if I want to love everybody? What if I don't? And that essentially what it amounts to. But I always say it's flound.
I did not expect that.
I know that's right. It's flat and it's round. Who cares? It's flound, man. Why can't it be both?
Straight to the point. My answer should have been like that. That's great. That's great. Awesome. Well, I think that might sum it up, man. Is there anything else you want to say? Let everybody know where they can find you.
I am Book of Jonah on Instagram, Jonah Rogers on Facebook, and I just started a new TikTok. I got a baby TikTok. I had 600-something thousand. And 600-something thousand, I'm back at the drawing board, which is 1011 Starseed. But speaking of that, follower count does not matter. It literally is a trap. A lot of the people, I'll never speak against any people who are spreading truth and spreading their message, but understand not everybody has the same motivation or drive. Just speak your truth. If you got 10 followers and they're all awake, guess what? You're beating 1% of the population. I mean, I'm sorry, 99% of the population. So it doesn't matter about that. If it's about expression, and it's about finding your tribe, and it's about finding your divinity. Just create whatever is in your heart, and share your journey. More people need it.
For sure. Thank you for that. One more thing before we go. So
Sure.
I'm doing a series. It's 28 days of quantum jumping.
Okay.
Right. So every day in February, I'm posting, different methods and different, ideologies or modalities, practices to quantum jump, to get to the timeline you want to be. Do you have a method that you would like to share?
Just one? I mean,
You can share a couple of them.
so as a whole, if you want to quantum jump, semen or orgasm retention mixed in with a 7-day water fast, mixed in with meditating for twice a day for 20 minutes each time, mixed in with walking. If you can walk an uncomfortable amount of steps with no headphones, that was another cheat code. I walked 1 million steps in 1 month, and God speaks to you, or your higher self speaks to you when you walk. Like the downloads and signs come through. There's a reason that song "Jesus Walks" blew up. I believe it's more than just the message of the song.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you can do these things, four things combined in a 7-day period, where you walk even 20,000 steps a day, whatever's an uncomfortable amount, you're gonna jump so many timelines, and you're gonna love yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
I want to put in on the semen retention thing. When it comes to energy, I teach a lot about Qigong and Tai Chi, right? And even a lot of Taoist and Tantric practices when it comes to saving your seed, right? it's necessary in order for you to activate your DNA. Because you have to have that excess in energy. It's the primary way that we lose our energy is through that. You're literally, this is what brings life into, creation too. People always talk about the women and, them being it's both.
Right.
It's both. And we lose most of our energy that way. So being able to, go into retention and in certain practices, you use it to nourish your mind and nourish your body, and it activates your DNA. So when we talk about star seeds and having activations and that whole level, if you haven't tried it,
Yeah.
try it. For as long as you can. There's an unhealthy point because we release certain chemicals and hormones when we ejaculate.
Yeah.
So some people take it to the extreme and never do it, like the breatharians. You don't need to be a breatharian.
Right.
Food tastes good for a reason.
Right.
Just because you can don't mean you should.
Yeah.
But try it. The first time I did, I think it was 90 days, and your mind becomes clearer. Your body's physiology becomes different. It begins to change. You become more alpha.
Yeah.
Like just naturally, because your root energies, it's there, and all your DNA literally begins to activate. So you don't have to go 90 days. Master Mantek Chia says 8 days. Once every 8 days. And people are going to be like, oh, well, what about sex and stuff like that? Steady tantra, real tantra.
Yeah.
There's sex cults out there. You don't want to be with them. But, literally, it's some really cool things you can do.
Yeah.
And still have, do what you're doing, but you're raising your energies up. And that's much greater than anything that you'll see in the media and when it comes to, just sexual stuff. But save it. It's one of the most powerful things. You really want to quantum jump, that right there combined with, everything that he said, from fasting and everything else, that one thing right there will be life-changing. So
100%. And I'll add this is that I always do things to the extreme. I don't know why. I don't
Same.
pick numbers. So I'm either all in or
Yeah.
I'm lackadaisical. But anyways, came back July 25th. I did 115 days semen retention.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can take back control of your power, because at some point, light workers, star seeds, we were sex addicts. We were addicted to a lot of things, but addicted to a feeling, I would say, more than anything.
Yeah.
And when you take back that control and power, now, I did hug some trees an extra long time. The trees were looking so good. I was like, girl. But no, I'm just kidding. But take back your sexual energy, take back your power, and your body will love you for it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, my
for being on this episode. Follow him on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the alls, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm really grateful that you were able to come in and hang out.
Hey, gratitude for you, my brother. I love what you're doing. Been watching you for a few years, and obviously we met already. And I don't think there's not many people, if any, that break it down the way you do, and just sharing your light, sharing your energy, and just a masterful teacher. I mean, that's one of the hardest things to do in a realm of so many different options. And what do I do? You found your way, and it's just such a powerful thing. I can't wait to see whenever in my version, the simulation does break and the world knows your name. But even if that does happen and we're on the ship, it don't matter. We came down here for a purpose, and you're living it, and I appreciate you, brother.
For sure, you are too, and I appreciate the work that you're doing too. It's really, really beautiful. Really
Thank you.
beautiful. Well,
Appreciate
thank you so much.
Thank you. Gratitude.
All right.